Hey there, internets. This is Kyle. I'm coming to you once again with another edition of the My Business Launch Secrets YouTube channel. Hope you're all doing well today. Once again, I'm falling a little bit behind my schedule, but unfortunately, I did catch whatever bug the kids ended up with over the past weekend and kind of knocked me out. I had to go into work yesterday for some meetings, but as soon as I got home, basically just went to bed and slept for a very long time. So that was good. Not back 100% really, but enough to get up and try to get some work done. Overall, the rest of the family is still in bed because, well, they're still sick. So. And I don't think they slept as well last night, so trying to let them catch up on their own sleep as well. I did spend some time yesterday. It was one of those days where, like, you go into work. Well, I don't know if anybody else does this, but I do this. Go into work because I had some morning meetings I had to, participate in. But then I guess around lunchtime or shortly after, I took off and took a nap in my car for an hour because I was tired and I was sick yesterday. I wish I didn't have to go in, but such is life sometimes. So took a nap in my car and then I went to good old Panera Bread to get some soup and was able to spend a little time working on my funnel. And got a little bit further down the road on that, which I'll show you here in a minute. I'm recording this obviously without a ton of energy, and something I heard Russell Brunson talk about yesterday on one of his podcasts was, people, he always seems to have so much energy and excitement on his various platforms, things that he puts out, social media, YouTube, videos, courses, etc. And people, I guess, ask him or wonder if he's just always like that, or if he ever actually has downtime or periods that he doesn't have as much energy. I think bottom line was like, yeah, of course he's like anybody else and has periods where he's not as animated or whatnot, doesn't have as much energy, gets frustrated by different things, but that's just not something he typically discusses on his various platforms, which I kind of find a little interesting because on other occasions he sort of talks about that, you should be documenting that your audience wants to, I guess, get to know the real you, and that you shouldn't necessarily just try to portray yourself as being this perfect person and have it all together, because people find that hard to relate to. And so showing yourself when you're being vulnerable, I guess, at least as they say, to your audience, and letting them know that you've got struggles just the same as they do, as a way to sort of build connection with your audience. And I've obviously primarily consumed a lot of Russell's podcasts, and definitely he's had times when he's expressed some frustrations at this thing or whatever, which he usually doesn't get into much details. He just kind of says like, oh, today I got frustrated at this thing and whatever, I won't go into it, so let's just talk about this other thing. And I guess I don't know if that's intentional or what. Obviously it hasn't hurt him in his business, because obviously he's been very successful in him not being as vulnerable. He does share stories from his past, some, when he went through challenges and difficulties and what lessons he learned from all that, which I guess you could say in one sense is being vulnerable. If you're telling people like when you did fail and you messed up, and then teaching them what you did to rebuild whatever the thing was that you messed up on. But yeah, I mean, I guess his main point was like, yeah, you do have to when you're posting stuff online, you do want to come with a lot of energy. And in a prior podcast, they talked about, when he first did an infomercial, which of course is a different platform, but in any case, that when he showed up to the studio and, they tried to record it and it was just him saying, hey, my name's Russell Brunson and I've got this cool thing to sell to you and blah, 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 blah. Very like monotonous or whatever. They had to cut it and say, hey, you got to have a lot of energy here because people who are watching this at home, there's just something about recorded media that unless you're almost like over animated, it appears as though you don't really have any energy. And I guess in general people are turned off by that. And so if you're coming across as somebody with like lots of energy and whatever, then people tend to at least, I guess, stick around to hear what you have to say, is the point. So it's kind of that dichotomy of like, hey, yeah, you should be real with your audience, but at the same time, you've got to like be, you got to come with your energy every time you're going to be posting something and whatnot. Which obviously in this, as it relates back to me, in this particular channel here, this channel again is more about me holding myself accountable to what I want to accomplish and simply me documenting the journey and forcing myself to at least put something out there for the worlds to see, even though I know there's only like 5 or 10 of you that will ever see this in the history of anything. And so I guess my goal with this particular venue is not, like, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just trying to be real with the struggles of how difficult this can be, especially when you're doing it part-time with a young family. Which means a lot of times I will not have energy and not be super enthusiastic. Of course, that couples with the fact that in general my personality is not one of very much, forwardness or whatnot. I'm typically the guy that likes to be in the back of the room and not say a lot unless I have a solid, specific opinion that I want to share with the group, whatever that is. And so I'm not one that has a lot of presence, I guess. So I guess the lesson is I'll have to work on that when it comes to the advertisements and the content I put out for PhD Boss, the PhD Boss, or PhD Secrets, as I am actually trying to sell something in those cases. So that's what scares me a little bit, I guess, because I find it difficult even to do what I'm doing here on this channel, which is just trying to record a relatively short 15 or 20 minute vlog, I guess you could say it is, a diary of sorts, of me just blabbing about what's gone on for the day. Contrast that to in my main business that I'm trying to build, needing to be a little bit more intentional with everything I'm doing and plan things out a little bit more in advance, just because I don't have any time. It's freaking ridiculous. But so I don't know, maybe this whole thing is kind of crazy, and unless I want to be real crazy and just quit my job and do this full time, it might be difficult to get this off the ground. I don't know. But of course, I go back to the thought of what if, what if this could work, doing it part-time? What if I was able to create $1 million business on the backs of a $47 a month newsletter solely? That was another piece that Russell talked about, was, as I've heard him talk about before, he encourages people that are getting started out to start with more of a mid-ticket product, like $1,000, $2,000, and selling that, because with that you can afford to pay more to get leads. Get people to register for like a webinar or something, and then sell this $2,000 thing on a webinar. And even if your conversions are low, the fact that you're selling the thing for $2,000 means you're probably able to recoup all, if not additional monies relative to your cost to acquire that customer. And and he was saying, low ticket stuff, like if you want to sell a book or whatever, again, in my case, selling a membership program can be more difficult. He was mainly saying a book. So I would say if you're just trying to sell a book, that would definitely be hard, because if you're selling a book for whatever, $20, $30, it's a one-time thing. People are going to buy the book and that's it, right? Versus what I'm trying to do, obviously, with a membership is like, hey, here's a lot of free stuff that is normally valued at like $1,000, but I'm just going to give it to you for free, just for you to sign up for this newsletter. So they'll pay the $30 up front, and then I've got them on the hook at $47 a month. $47 a month over the course of a year is like, I don't know, something like $500, $550, $550. So I'm still not up to the $2,000 level, but again, if I can keep most of those people over the long term, then obviously that will ramp up to be a pretty significant fraction of monies. I put in the funnel that one of my scarcity sales tactics was that I'm only printing 500 t-shirts and 500 notebooks that are included in the free offer, right? So they have to act now if they want to get one of those, right? So if you want to do, let me bring this down, 500. So if I were able to actually sell 500, then every month that should be bringing in $23,000 in revenue. Over the course of a year, it'd be $282,000. So not too shabby. Of course, again, to get to my $1 million goal means I need to get a lot more than 500 people to register. So, but I figure if I can get 500, then I can start to tweak the offer and, maybe raise the price at that point in time, or do something else so that I can get this number up to the $1 million mark. And of course, even if I get to this point, say within some number of months, well, then if I can roll out the next level of membership, the diamond membership, which notionally could be like $147 a month, and say you get 20% of the people to sign up for that. So it's 20% of the people of 500. There's 100 people paying an extra $100 a month. So it's like an extra $10K a month, I think. So an extra $120K on top of the $280. So now you're up to like $500,000, I guess. So, that's not, again, if that's all I ever did, that wouldn't be terrible, right? $500,000 in revenue. Maybe by that time I've hired 1 or 2 virtual assistants, which can be relatively cheap. Then you account for the cost of the newsletter, etc. And I don't know, so maybe your costs are 100K, maybe max, and still 400K profit just from making a newsletter every month, which means I would have like tons of free time to spend with my family. So that would be pretty cool. And most importantly, I would be able to quit my job, which is obviously a big motivation for all this. With that, let's go back to the old funnel here, and I'll show you what I finished up. So in addition to just completing some of the sections that I had just thrown in some generic starter text, I did actually fill in all those pieces, but also I tried to tweak, so obviously you're viewing on a desktop, and as I mentioned previously, I really just wanted to design this so it's more optimally laid out for a mobile platform, since again that's how most people will consume your content. But when I did that, and then when I went back to the desktop version, it was really, things were like really out of whack. So I still wanted it to look decent on desktop, and so I did go through and tweak some of the sizings of the graphics and stuff like that, so they weren't like ginormous. Set them to a specific pixel width so that it doesn't matter, as the size of your screen changes, the size of those images stay the same, right? At least mostly. The wider images I kept as just being like, try to go the full width. But I did compress the width of the text, as you see here, to like 70% of the width of your screen. So that's why you kind of have everything centered more or less in the top part there. I mean, in the middle. Okay, so I had already done all this stuff prior, laid out the full offer stack, etc. So there's parts here that I did add to yesterday. What's the catch? Why would I do this? Try to be a little creative in how I wrote my copy for why I'm doing this, and then also adding in the urgency and scarcity types of tactics. So again, I only printed 500 of these t-shirts. We're going to be raising prices, and the insane offer, like, I'll probably reduce the amount of stuff you're going to get later on. So you need to act now to lock in your membership rate. A couple guarantees here, what to do next, hit the green button, blah blah blah, and boom, you get all this cool stuff. So yeah, this is pretty well done. I do want to add one section, which I'm not sure where to do that. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. I might do that down after the offer stack. What's the catch? Why time is of the essence? I might put it down here, adding another section that kind of goes into a little bit more of my background. Why should you be interested in a newsletter by this guy, right? It's definitely a question I would have if I were looking at this. Who's this Yahoo that's trying to sell me this thing? I mean, some of that I'll probably highlight in my video up front, but it'd be good to actually have that written down, since not everybody will watch the video. Have it written down in text, throw a few pictures in there, etc., etc. And then that'll be done. So then I need to figure out what happens when they hit this button. Oh, I already did that. Cool. So I haven't edited this, but so they'll click on that button saying like, hey, yeah, I want the thing. And which that one doesn't work, but I'll fix that. Give them a pop-up to just initially get their email address, so you avoid people who would click on the button and then ultimately decide they don't really want to go through with it on the order page, and so then they just click off. But at least in order for them to even get to the order page, they have to put in an email address, so that way I can have that to follow up afterwards if they did not actually sign up. So I got to tweak this again, and then when they enter their email address, boom, hit that button, which that doesn't do anything. It just goes back to this page. That would then go to an order page for them to actually put in their, address and credit card info and stuff, right? So that's two things. And then the third thing is the upsell, which the upsell is going to be, hey, if you just want to go and lock in a crazy discount for annual subscription, this is one-time offer for 40% off the list price or something. I don't know, $3.99 or $2.99 or something like that. They could get all 12 editions for the full year. So that's where I'm at. I'll leave it there for today. I hope you're all doing well. Hopefully you're not sick, because being sick sucks. And keep on kicking ass, taking names. I'll talk to you next time. Peace.